A rite of passage turned nightmare, heading off to college only to be sexually assaulted. It's a serious issue that the media has struggled to report on, partly because universities are shrouded by privacy laws, but also because the statistics are so squishy.
Sexual assault on college campuses.
A painful national discussion.
And the colleges may not be doing enough.
All of that may be true. But for all the coverage devoted to campus sexual assault, one central fact is in dispute. How often does it happen? In recent years, the media has repeated that 1 in 5 students are assaulted on campus.
That statistic comes from a 2007 Department of Justice study that was somewhat criticized for being limited in scope. It only included 2 colleges.
But any concerns about those numbers were put aside this week with a new survey.
The Association of American Universities has conducted a massive study, looked at 150,000 students at 27 top universities.
And the findings are even more dramatic.
Nearly 1 in 4, 23%, say they experienced some form of unwanted sexual contact.
For many news outlets, the AAU survey appears to validate that sexual assault is virtually endemic on campuses. But when you delve into the details of the survey, less than 20% of students bother to respond. And that alone makes the statistics shaky at best. These are the kind of studies and reports that the media jumps on without looking behind the figures at the details of the statistics. This is the kind of thing, if it was a political poll because of the plus or minus factor, wouldn't cut it at all. But I don't know why that is. Reporters, anchors, they jump to report this kind of thing. Well, and let me see now, who did that study? How many people responded when you had 80% of the people not even bothering to respond? Which doesn't say that there isn't a problem. But the fact of the matter is you couldn't, through that study, you could not prove or state unequivocally in a news report that 1 out of 4 people was sexually assaulted on college campus.
Well, that's part of the problem. Everyone knows that there is a problem on campus. There has been for a long time. But the scope of it and the definitions are also very squishy. I mean, what is assault? Is assault some kind of unwanted, kind of boorish behavior, or is it really actual assault? And I think the problem with blowing this up and calling every little thing assault is that you're diminishing the real prosecutable, really serious victimization that does happen in a small segment of the population.
And the AAU study accepted that as part of sexual assault, right? That includes sexual harassment. So unwanted comments, which I wouldn't want my daughters to experience when they go off to college, but it's not the same as being raped.
And you want your daughters to have a different reaction to each thing, a different kind of resiliency, depending on what happened.
I wonder if the media is never good about delving into the minutia of studies. We're not good at math. We're not good at things involving numbers. But I wonder if there's also sort of a residual, even subconscious institutional guilt, thinking that we didn't really pay attention to this for decades and decades. Now that it's coming to light, we are going to do everything we can to get awareness raised and not question and
but
say,
you think there'd be some gun shyness, too, after that Rolling Stone report, which turned out to be completely bogus?
Well, you know, I work on a college campus. My impressionistic view is that it's a huge problem, but we still haven't quantified it. And I don't even think you have to dive deep into the study to see what's wrong with it. Just the fact that people self-reported makes the entire thing invalid. I mean, it's not a random poll. It's a self-selecting survey, and as a result, it doesn't tell us anything except about the people who chose to respond to the survey. So we still don't know the extent of it. It may be as bad as this, it may be less, it may be worse, but we just don't know from this study.
Everybody's trying to put some numbers around something that we know is going on and that we have known for a long time, to Joanna's point, has been going on. And the other part of it that makes it also difficult is that most people do not report. Now, that's true on a campus or off. And so now how do you measure that?
Well, then why don't they report? Do they not report because it really didn't bother them enough to make them feel like it was a crime, or do they not report because they're afraid that they won't be believed? I think there's a little bit of both.
Yeah, there's a little bit of both, but it tends to veer toward they won't be believed. And there's a whole discussion about whether or not campuses are equipped to deal with this, period. So, you know, we just really have to approach this getting the information, because it doesn't help the real victims. That's the thing that makes me crazy. And I don't want anybody to dismiss that it's not happening or it's not happening frequently, because we do know that anecdotally, but what are the numbers? Let's get them.